Hello and welcome to your daily dose of Satoshi's news. Today's date is Wednesday the 25th of June 2025, the year BSV comes alive. Branch your threads, expand your mind with treechat.ai or your post put on chain. Right, let's see what we've got today. Got this article from CoinGeek that looks great. It said Overnode is a sneak net for the digital world. Sounds very exciting. Yeah, looking forward to getting into that. We've got some articles by Brian Doherty, which we will also look at and go through. Got some funny posts here on X worth chatting about. Look at that. Coin Bureau just said that Tether has just spent 128 million euro investment on Juventus. Yeah, I mean, and Tether just literally prints Tether from nothing. I mean, this is exactly what Sam Bankman-Fried was doing before the FTX collapse, so we'll talk about that. Posts here from Craig, which look pretty good. We'll have a look at the figures. Some 365 days of Bitcoin history, the Kellen Schweller countdown, and then that'll be the end of the show. Right, let's get into it.
Satoshi, like a cowboy in the West, riding on the blockchain that they call the very best. 1 million strong, them transactions flying free. Just wait for the Terra node, you'll surely see.
Here we go. Right, let's check this out then. CoinGeek says that Overnode is a sneaker net for the digital world. Here we go. So, regarding Terra node, bring it on. It says, we're looking forward to the first release of Overnode, developed by long-term blockchain developer Stefan February. It's a Swiss Army knife of social, news and commerce functions where everything is peer-to-peer. February sat down with First Ordinal's David Case for a Q&A and explanation of how to make all these networking functions work in a distributed way without any centralized servers. It's not simple. Overnode's first mobile app features a wallet, marketplace, newsfeed, contact list, private messaging, microblogging and audio spaces, and a timestamp archive. Yes, other apps already do these things, but they all have their centralized servers, coordinating all the activity behind the scenes. Basing it on a true peer-to-peer distributed network between individual devices is not an easy task, but that's where we need it. That is exactly where we need it. February recently discussed Overnode and its features with Kurt Wattock Jr. on the CoinGeek Weekly livestream. This Q&A with Case dives deeper into the technical details of how it works. What's a sneakernet and what are the challenges? Sneakernet means transferring information, in commas, in brackets, digital or otherwise, by physically transporting it from one location or device to another. Though it's an information age term that usually refers to copying data onto portable media and carrying it around, the concept is also similar to physical mail services. Sending, delivering, and receiving the information are three separate processes that may occur at different times, and there is no central function monitoring everything. Building a sneakernet or store and forward service for digital services isn't an easy problem to solve. February says, even in the physical world, there are issues. A message can't get lost or delayed before it reaches its destination. It could be delivered to the wrong place, or the receiver may not notice it. There's no 100% guarantee a sent message will get through. He says the challenge of building a digital delay-tolerant network inspired him to build Overnode. Oh, bring it on. What can I do today? Not only to make sneakernet viable, but also solve a problem I've seen persistently happen with distributed systems in general, not peer-to-peer, which is the problem of altruistic node operating on the network. But what's actually happening, i.e. how exactly do you make a store forward service work? Case asks, direct messaging is one thing, but if you have a new chat similar to a Signal or Telegram, how do you ensure all group messages can see a post intended for them? Essentially, nodes on the network have specialized functions while remaining peer-to-peer nodes are not acting as centralized servers. One of these is simply called store and forward. There are also bootstrap services with distributed hash tables, HTT, which are a way to discover other peers note their addresses, and help establish connections between them. Once a user starts their mobile app, their device announces its presence to the Bootstrap service, and its live status is gossiped to others on the network. This announcement doesn't go to the entire network, but a subset of it, maybe other devices nearby, using a nearest neighbor algorithmic technique like CORD. February says he's been using Cadelima, DHTs. The idea is to have a key value store, the state of which is distributed and replicated automatically among several different peers. The information stored on DHT could be your device's IP and perhaps a long-term stable moniker, e.g. your personal handle, that would identify someone joining the network and be used to announce its status. The Bootstrap service can determine the closeness of other nodes which don't refer to physical distance, but the mathematical equivalent using consistent hashing. Everyone's hash table will therefore be different, and the system can find the most efficient other nodes that may have the information an individual node is looking for. February describes it as a form of 6 degrees of separation, but in practice it happens very quickly, with everyone's table updated with irrelevant information. BitTorrent uses similar techniques for large file sharing. By the way, Overnode's interface also looks nice. Oh, yeah. Smooth. Loving that. Marketplace newsfeed and all that. Excellent. Excellent. If you're interested in hearing all about the technical details, the Case/February video has a lot of other interesting points. Case also talks about the similar challenges involved in the BSV overlay networks, keeping track of massive amounts of data on a distributed network and being able to trust the information you're receiving. The two also dive into the economic model behind Overnode and similar networks, as well as how SPV payments can be layered onto these services. The purpose of the social network style app February is building now is mainly to prove Overnode's concept of the distributed data plane. If it works, it'll have far wider reaching use cases and consequences. Oh, excellent. What a great article. I was looking forward to that. This also looks kind of interesting. Look, SEC accused of fraud on court in explosive filings. This is to do with Veritasium, I think. Embattled digital asset influencer Reggie Middleton has accused the US Securities and Exchange Commission of fabricating evidence and lying to the court in the regulator's securities case against the company, according to a series of bombshell legal filings. In what the filing calls a profound betrayal of justice process, the SEC is accused of fabricating and concealing evidence to secure an asset freeze against Middleton's company Veritasium, a freeze which ultimately forced Middleton to permanently settle a case. Middleton was originally sued by the SEC along with his firm Veritasium in 2019 over their very coin offering, calling it an unregistered securities offering, well, which it was, and based on false and misleading statements made to investors. Veritasium's business accounts were frozen early in the litigation. Following the asset freeze, Middleton and Veritasium settled with the SEC for $9.5 million in 2019. $7.8 million of this was disgorged profits, which was then topped up by $582,535 in interest and a $1 million penalty applied to Middleton personally. The court also granted a series of injunctions that practically banished Middleton from the digital asset industry. The SEC lied to the court about money transfers. That would have been the end of the matter, but now Middleton has asked the court to vacate the 2019 settlement on the basis that the SEC has committed fraud on the court through a calculated scheme that undermined judicial integrity. That is outrageous that they did that. I mean, this literally just goes to show you how corrupt literally everything is right now. Literally everything. This is why everything needs to run and be done on the Bitcoin network. So none of these shenanigans, so they can't get away with these shenanigans. That is outrageous. And then obviously they're even fining him using their own securities fraud. That in itself null and voids the entire process. Like literally, whoa, that is massive. All right, good luck to Reggie on that. All right, let's get on to this article here from Brian Doty saying, Beyond the Casino, recalibrating the blockchain narrative. This is quite a big article, so I don't think we'll have time to get through this. It's a lot on there. But let's see what he says here. The public discourse on blockchain has been hijacked. For years, the world has been conditioned to see the profound technology through the distorted lens of cryptocurrency, a volatile casino-like world of meme-driven speculation that obscures more than it reveals. This narrow perspective is a colossal misinterpretation of blockchain's origin, purpose, and ultimate potential. It is a distracting sideshow from a far more significant revolution, one that has little to do with tokens and everything to do with truth. To understand the future of our digital world, we must return to first principles and reclaim the foundational purpose of blockchain. This analysis will prove three core truths that recalibrate the entire narrative. First, that blockchain's birthright is integrity, not currency. It was conceived to solve the problem of digital trust, not to create a new form of money. I guess so. You can't actually really have a digital integrity unless it's independent, and therefore you need a digital asset in order to secure the network. It's kind of like chicken and egg situation, that one. But yeah, kind of agree. Second, its destiny is to serve as a foundational infrastructure for a more truthful and secure internet, not as a mere application, but as a fundamental upgrade to its architecture. And third, its potential for a global scale is unbounded, freed from the frictional constraints of the so-called blockchain trilemma, a myth that has derailed an industry. This is the case for a blockchain as the most critical infrastructure of the 21st century, the integrity layer upon which a verifiable future can be built. And as I said, Bitcoin is the foundation layer of all future digital technology, secured and underpinned by economic principles. That's where the Bitcoin asset comes in. But it's primarily to secure data. Through economic principles. So, I guess I do agree with this first one there. It is integrity first. Yeah, economic principles kind of ensure that. Yeah, spot on. The genesis of integrity, why blockchain was always about truth, not tokens. The assertion that blockchain was never about currency is not a revision. Well, it's not currency. It's money. That's the thing. It has to be an asset. An asset is not a security. A security is what secures your entitlement to the asset, but it's not currency. The assertion that blockchain was never about currency is not a revisionist take. It's a return to the historical record. Long before Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin white paper, a pair of research scientists were grappling with a problem far more fundamental than peer-to-peer payments, their mission anchoring truth in the shifting sands of the digital world. The problem of digital forgery. In the early 1990s, Belcore scientist W. Scott Stornetta and Stuart Harbour identified a looming civilizational challenge. As society began its inexorable shift from paper to digital records, they recognized a critical vulnerability. Stornetta foresaw a future built on entirely digital records that were inherently malleable and untrustworthy. Unlike a physical document, a digital file could be altered, backdated, or deleted without a trace. They saw a computationally practical solution for timestamping digital documents so that they couldn't be tampered with. Their work, later cited 3 times in the Bitcoin white paper, was not about creating an asset class. It was about solving the core problem of digital trust, ensuring that once data is written, it cannot be secretly changed. An invention anchored in reality. The solution Harbour and Stornetta devised in 1991 was an elegant chain of cryptographically linked data blocks. The world's first blockchain. They used one-way hash functions to create a unique digital fingerprint of a document. These hashes were then grouped into blocks, and each blocks were chained to the previous one, forming an immutable time-ordered sequence. Any alteration to a past record would change its hash, causing a detectable break in the chain. Absolutely. Awesome. The most profound element of their invention, however, was not purely digital. To anchor their digital chain to undisputed reality, each week they published the root hash of their chain in the classified section of the New York Times. This was a revolutionary act. It established a method for anchoring digital truth to a widely distributed, physically observable and socially trusted artifact. Anyone at any point in the future could verify a digital record against a hash published in a newspaper sitting in thousands of libraries worldwide. Oh wow. And again, I mean, this is why I suspect this is why Craig used a newspaper clipping in the Genesis block, maybe as a sort of like a hat tip to these two. Great stuff. This Integrity First mission was commercialized in 1994 with Surety Technologies, the first ever blockchain company, nearly 15 years before the Bitcoin creation. Its purpose was clear: to provide businesses with a way to objectively defend the credibility of their digitized content. The Great Conflation: Utility versus Crypto Casino. This clear vision has been almost entirely eclipsed by what many now call the casino-like world of digital asset speculation. This false conflation has severely limited the public and potential understanding of the technology's true potential. The modern narrative incorrectly casts the token as an innovation when it's merely a means of accessing the network's capabilities. Stonetta and Harber's goal was not financial gain, but something far more essential: keeping records straight. Their decision to publish hashes in the newspaper was a precedent acknowledgement that a purely self-referential digital system is insufficient for generating social trust. It established a philosophical precedent for integrating blockchain with existing legal and public systems. This act is philosophically identical to modern frameworks like digital asset recovery. Oh wow, which allows for lawful recovery of stolen assets, not by altering blockchain history, but by having the network append a new, legally mandated transaction pursuant to a court order. Both approaches recognize that for blockchain to function as legitimate social societal infrastructure, it cannot exist in a vacuum. It must partner with the real world, not flee from it. The infrastructure revolution, completing the internet's unfinished architecture. Blockchain is frequently miscategorized alongside AI or IoT. This is a fundamental error. Blockchain is not an application built on the internet. It is a long overdue upgrade to the internet. It is an infrastructure revolution designed to remedy the core architectural flaws that have been defined in the internet's first 50 years. The internet's original sin. The internet's foundational protocols, TCP/IP, were marvels of information transmission. However, they were never designed to manage identity, secure ownership, or transfer intrinsic value. This architectural deficit creates two systemic gaps. One, the value gap with no native way to transfer value. The internet gave rise to centralized intermediaries, banks, payment processors, and ad networks. This spawned the economic model for surveillance capitalism, where user data became the product. The trust gap, TCP/IP, cannot natively verify the source or integrity of data. This required bolted-on security patches and created the vast cybersecurity vulnerabilities and centralized data honeypots that define our digital lives. The integrity layer, a civilizational upgrade. The solution is not another patch, but a profound revolutionary upgrade. A new foundational protocol defined as the integrity layer, powered by a public blockchain. This layer complements TCP/IP by integrating identity, verifiability, economic logic, and auditability directly into the protocol stack itself. To quantify as the foundational layer, a protocol must satisfy stringent engineering prerequisites for national level security, stability, and sustainability. Security, confidentiality, timestamped integrity, and constant availability. Stability, public accessibility, protocol interoperability, and future extensibility. And sustainability, massive scalability, energy efficient utility, and cost efficiency over legacy systems. This framework elevates the discussion from a vague promise of blockchain to a clear set of engineering requirements. The integrity layer doesn't compete with the internet, it completes it. Oh, loving that. Loving that. What a great article that was. I haven't really got time to go for it all, but might end up reading that myself. Oh, that was a nice one there, Brian. Spot on. He's also got another one here saying, cracking crypto crime, a story of transformation for a modern law enforcement. It started with a knock on the door. A woman in her 70s walked into a small town police department in Massachusetts, trembling with a folder in hand. She had lost $13,000 in what she described as a PayPal mishap, but behind the polite smiles and kind reassurance, the officer at the desk quietly assumed the case was going nowhere. Like most crypto fraud, it felt out of reach, too technical, too international, too abstract. But this wasn't just any officer. He'd recently completed the crypto law training course. Instead of filing the report away, he opened a block explorer, traced the transaction, matched a wallet address to a US-based exchange, and collaborated with prosecutors to issue a warrant. Weeks later, the woman's funds were returned, $11,309 recovered. Her tears weren't just relief; they were the kind that come from feeling seen, believed, and protected. This is the story of what happens when law enforcement gets the training it needs to face a 21st century crime. Wow, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's financial crime is devastating when it happens to you. Yeah, I mean, really, it's like wipes people out. You know. Like, oof. So yeah, that was a good one. Check this one out. So Bitcoin News has said here, next time someone says Bitcoin is just a bubble, show them this. I've actually responded to this literally with like clown faces. Like have a listen to this. This is just ridiculous.
Ladies and gentlemen, bubbles have three characteristics. They tend to be a single cycle, boom, then bust, relatively short in duration, and crash back down to the baseline, which is either zero or the inflation-adjusted place of where they were before the boom. The Dutch tulip mania.
Yeah, I mean, he goes on about all these different bubbles, and then he's just like, yeah, Bitcoin isn't a bubble. You know, it's just like Amazon and Netflix and Apple and all that kind of stuff. Honestly, he has no idea. Just because they don't understand the commoditization process. They don't understand that Bitcoin had to go through a period of neutral organic growth, which is why this lot turned it into a Ponzi scheme. So it's literally a decade-long Ponzi scheme. A decade-long Ponzi scheme with an asset that's fixed in supply and all this speculation about it that literally threatens the economic power and dominance of the central banks. They've turned it into the biggest Ponzi scheme in history. And this guy, again, you know, trying to persuade people that it's not a bubble. Like, dear, and again, you know, he's talking about BTC there. What an absolute clown. And check this out. So Barclays bans customer card spending on crypto. Barclays just dropped 131 million on BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, but bans customers from using credit cards to buy crypto. That's Retail Block Institute Sachs. I mean, is that not a little bit hypocritical? You know, again, you know, one rule for me, another for thee, as they say. Absolutely outrageous. Check this guy out. This is a really interesting for what he says here from his own personal opinions. Have a listen.
I'm a loser, just like MAGA and the blue MAGA liberals. Because I know Zionists is the real problem of United States, and Zionists, they own United States. They own Federal Reserve, they own Wall Street, they own Hollywood. Everything important in United States, Zionists, they own it. Not only Zionists own United States, they own all the Western mainstream media. You know, 6 million Jewish people got killed in Germany. The whole world, everybody knows it. 35 million Chinese got killed in World War II by Japanese and European imperialism countries. Not many people know about it. Because Zionists, they own the whole world media, basically. I don't dare talk about Zionists because before I had an account on Recalibrating, I talked about the Zionist dark history 2 days in a row. And the third day, my whole account got erased, just gone. No, didn't tell me what did I violate, just erased my whole account. So I don't dare to talk about Zionists. They have power everywhere.
And that's kind of scary because he's obviously in China. you know, which just goes to show literally they're absolutely everywhere. And like we saw that meeting that David Rockefeller had with, you know, Chairman Mao, and he said, you know, something like China is the most important experiment in human history because China is the blueprint that they're using for the rest of the world. You know, yeah, and this guy has just kind of like found out the hard way that they're everywhere. He was thinking, oh, you know, China must be an independent country. Nope, afraid not. Literally puppets on a string, controlled by Zionists. Like, whoa, scary stuff. Check this one out. So Coin Bureau just pointed. They said, just posted, Justin Tether has snapped up 10.7% stake in Juventus, becoming the club's second largest shareholder with a 128 million euro investment. This is exactly what Sam Bankman-Fried was doing with FTX. It's exactly what he was doing when they were just printing the FTX token up from nothing. Yeah, and then they were sort of like trying to sell it to Binance, and Binance was just like, well, hold on a minute. You're estimating the value of your own exchange by the number of tokens that you've just like made yourself, saying that they're back were like 1-to-1 with dollars, and they're not. You're nowhere near holding that many dollars. And this is exactly what Tether pretty much are doing now. Probably shitting it. Well, whoever it is that's in charge of it, just making Tethers up from nothing. They're just like, right, well, you know, so we might get done and Tether is going to get shut down. But before that happens, we'll go on a buying spree. And we'll have, you know, real world tangible assets, you know, and ownerships in things that the people won't be able to take off us. This is what they're doing. It's absolutely outrageous. And again, this is exactly how the central banks have asset stripped the entire world. Literally the entire world. This is how the Zionists have done it, basically. Let's see what Craig has said here. This is actually a really interesting post from him because he was responding to Stefan Molyneux. And Stefan Molyneux has said here, resentment is anger plus helplessness. But what's interesting is actually Craig's emotionally developed and mature response here. So he said, I was an angry young man once too. I know the fire, raw, untamed, roaring against every injustice and idiocy. But I learned to burn it clean, to forge it into discipline, creation, something that builds instead of barks. It seems Stefan never made that turn. He's still stuck, an angry old man, shouting into the digital void, confusing volume for truth and belligerence for insight. It's a shame, really, because when you live like that, you don't just lose arguments, you lose life. You lose the quiet joys. Craig is developing into a wise old man. This is awesome. The deep creation, the strength of peace earned through purpose. Anger isn't what he thinks it is. It's not a crown. It's not a weapon. It's a furnace. Either you shape something with it or it consumes you. And judging by the smoke, Stefan's just stoking the flames, not forging a damn thing. Well, it takes time. It takes time. But like Craig said, you know, he was an angry young man once too. And to be honest with you, when he says he was an angry young man, I don't actually think that was long ago, to be honest with you. I don't think it was long ago at all. In fact, dare I say, I think he was still angry with everything back in 2020. I think Craig's personal development and learning has come from 2021 to where we are now. So we're only really talking like 4 years, but that's a real change there from CSW, and congratulations. You know, that's what we want to see, and that's what he's become. You know, fulfilling his potential. Literally fantastic. So yeah, well done, Craig. I know it sounds a little bit patronising coming from me, but I'm actually really quite proud of him for doing that. Well done. Coin dance. Oh, so we got Greg Coin. Just have a look at the figures quickly. Greg Coin, $107,000. Bitcoin just 32. I'll have a look at the figures here. Hash rate 0.4%. Network nodes 0.18. Transactions down to 15.1. But block size 61.59. Here we go. Look at these blocks coming through. Nothing really to write home about, but 70,000 times cheaper to transact on Bitcoin than Gregcoin mining. Bitcoin at a 40.6% comparable loss, which means the shitcoiners, they just simply won't be holding any genuine Bitcoin. Oof. Oof. Ooh, the politics is in the pie charts. Let's have a quick look here. Global hash rate 7 days, 24 hours. Gregcoin hash rate, other miners 10.42. That's actually quite big for other miners on there. 54.86 on B Crash. 61.1 on Fisher Price Cash. Yeah, and we know that CoinDance don't report the figures correctly there for genuine Bitcoin. 25th of June, 2010. I think this was from the Nakamoto Institute, where somebody had said, we need more details about what happened, Mad Hatter. Is that CSW? Oh yeah, from Satoshi. So looks like Craig wrote here, we need more details about what happened, Mad Hatter. Both 0.2 and 0.3 have a backup, a way of getting connected with without IRC. It's just slower to get connected. 0.2 can find other nodes without IRC if it's ever been connected before, but a new install can't discover the network for the first time without IRC. 0.3 can also seed without IRC. It can operate entirely without IRC if it needs to, but it's better having IRC for redundancy. Not that I know what any of that means, but sounds cool. And tomorrow, 26th of June, was when Cobra posted if Satoshi ever came back, he'd be chased out. Can you believe it? I think Cobra was also probably potentially a CIA operative as well. Check this one out, the Kellenschweller countdown. Here we go. We've got 85 days left. And remember, that's 85 days to the countdown of 0. I think that Terranode could potentially become open source anytime within the next 85 days. But we will see. We will see. Anyway, there we go. We'll leave it there. It's a 31-minute show. Hope you enjoyed it. So as ever, if you enjoy these updates, please ding your donations for your appreciation to either Satoshi@Sembi.com, Hangash.io, Rockwallet.me, Simply.cash, Relaser.com, or Senti.ch. We'll leave it there. Hope you enjoyed it. And as ever, be aware, take care, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one.
2 years ago, you got SegWit, which we lied and cheated and stealed, and I was part of the lying and cheating and stealing to get SegWit, to get Lightning, which, by the way, had critical vulnerabilities and lost people's money.
The king still has one more move.
Remember, Bitcoin is BSV. Everything else is BS.